Meanwhile, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has arrived in New Delhi. In moments from now, he will be holding talks with the External Affairs Minister Jaishankar at Hyderabad House. Ahead of the meeting, China has vowed to continue to communicate with India with a positive attitude. Well, that makes this visit by the Chinese Foreign Minister important. Well, let's tell you. Reason number one, this meeting comes at a crucial time, just days ahead of PM Modi's planned trip to China for the SCO summit. Reason number two, the 24th round of special representatives dialogue in India-China boundary issues will be held. See, reason number three, the timing coincides with heightened trade frictions between New Delhi and Washington. It also opens up an opportunity for India to make a geopolitical maneuver if push comes to shove. Reason number four, China, which has faced its own battles with Trump's trade wars, has indirectly stepped forward to express support for India. And reason number five, last month, India began issuing tourist visas to Chinese nationals once again, a key step in restoring travel and exchange. Not only that, the Chinese foreign minister is also set to meet with PM Modi, a much awaited meeting. The question then that arises is, are India and China going to improve ties in the coming time? Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee, former diplomat, is live with us on the broadcast. We also have Major Sudhakarji, geopolitical analyst, joining us live. Vijay Kranti, Chairman Chase, is live with us. Adit Kothari, foreign affairs expert, is also joining the broadcast. Let me begin with you, Ambassador Mukherjee. How important is this visit by the foreign minister to India? He has, of course, already arrived in New Delhi.
It is of primordial importance because at a time when we are facing unprecedented pressure and bullying tactics from the president of the most powerful country in the world, a country that we had thought was our most important and pivotal strategic partner, it is time for India also coming from the land of Chanakya to reassess its strategic autonomy, to look afresh at what are the options in front of us, to prepare in case Trump goes ahead and still imposes another 25%, although he made an ambiguous remark, if I'm not mistaken, a day ago, saying that it appears now that India is no longer buying Russian oil, so Russia has lost a very important customer in India. He made that announcement, of course, in his signature style, without ever consulting the two countries concerned, either Russia or India. But nevertheless, it could be taken as an oblique way of indicating that that extra 25% will not be imposed. But since he's the most unpredictable person, Uday, I would not like to make any predictions about which way he's going. The Chinese foreign minister is a very old friend of our own foreign minister, who, if you would remember, has also served as a highly successful ambassador of India to China. He greeted him as an old friend. I understand that talks went off very well. The meeting with PM will be of primordial importance again, because it is also to prepare for PM's visit for the SCO summit in China. The fact that we've given tourist visas and that we are looking once again positively at increasing trade with China is very important, because perhaps some of the items, not all, but some of the items which will be hit by these sanctions, by these tariffs. I call them sanctions now because they're almost like sanctions, these trade tariffs. For instance, gems and jewelry, electronic products, etc. Some of them, perhaps between India and China, we could find new joint ventures or other countries where we could together collaborate and be able to save our producers from distress, which they are anticipating, which is being talked about also on social media, until we can find firm new markets for them. So both China and India, great powers, neighboring countries, huge populations, huge domestic markets. In fact, what PM said about let's go Swadeshi is exactly what Mao Zedong had said when China was feeble and was facing pressure from outside. China just moved back to its own domestic market. So let's go Swadeshi is a call for 1.4 billion Indians to unite, go Swadeshi, find new markets and weather out this crisis together. And in that context, to make new strategic partners or to find new ways of augmenting strategic autonomy, is the only solution for us, given the fact that the country that we had depended upon the most appears to have turned hostile, very hostile. The president seems to be very hostile. So we have no other option, and I think that we would be able to perhaps find some market for our goods in China, and maybe ultimately work out an FTA with China, and also find places where we both collaborate jointly in third countries.
Right. Major General Sudhakarji, this of course is a key visit as it sets the tone and tenor for the Prime Minister's upcoming visit for the SCO summit as well. Do you believe the contours of that are likely to be firmed up during this visit by the Foreign Minister to India as well?
Uday, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show, and very sincere compliments to distinguished co-panelists, particularly Ambassador Ma'am. She deserves to have the last say in any discussion in your channel or any channel for that matter. Now, in response to the question which you have raised, allow me to dilate on a couple of issues. First and foremost thing is that SCO meeting by the end of this month is scheduled, and our Honorable Prime Minister will be paying a visit to China after a long gap. And this is the first one after Galwan incident. And it is happening in the backdrop of the tariff tyranny of Trump, which has been imposed, and God only knows, as it is being speculated, the second 25% may or may not be imposed on India. But India should be prepared. Honorable Prime Minister has outlined the roadmap. Swadeshi is the only answer. But then there is a option for India to actually divide our course of action into short-term, medium-term, long-term. In short, I would like to sum it up by saying this particular part, that India needs to adopt a very pragmatic approach towards our relationship with China. We know that it is our adversary to the north, but we are in such a quandary today that our dependency is the central factor. In any kind of international relationship, whether it is 20th or 21st century, each country is trying to enhance its dependency of the other countries on itself. So be it the raw material, be it the electronics, be it the scientists. So our dependency is very, very high. Therefore, for next 10 to 15 years or so, I have often in many platforms recommended that India needs to adopt a kind of a roadmap, short, medium, long term. We need to calibrate our option in a manner so that we go in for selective cooperation without being detriment to the national interest or compromising the national security. One part. Second part is that we need to also look at the impending visit of our Prime Minister for SCO meeting in the backdrop of losing out a huge export market, that is the USA, almost about to the tune of 85 or 87 billion total trade with USA. We need to look for market. If you look at China, the China's trade surplus has always been in favor of China. It's almost crossing close to $100 billion last year. And earlier, I think it had crossed the 100 billion. So we need to see, and our import basket has reduced with China. It's come down to 14.4, reduced by 14.4 to 15%. So we need to see as to what all components, what all things have to be, can actually fill up the gap. Importantly, we need to look at our labor-intensive products which are drying out the export market in US, particularly the leather and I would say the other products which are like the textile, leather, apparel, these kind of things, which are jewelry. If we have a potential market in China, that is the second aspect. The third and most important aspect is that the Wang Yi visit. Wang Yi, we need to understand that he is the special representative of the resolution of the border dispute that is between India and China. Earlier, our NSA had paid a visit to China. They have had a very serious and deliberate meeting, and they have come out with something substantive. And we are hoping that this extended standoff, which is still continuing, 50,000-60,000 towards eastern Ladakh and towards the eastern sector, Sikkim and beyond, towards tri-junction with Myanmar, almost about close to 80,000 to 90,000. People may not be talking about it. Open media doesn't touch upon. This is a very serious issue. We need to actually adopt very practical points which are implementable on the ground by a time-bound basis to de-escalate, to carry out demobilization, and finally de-induction to pre-April 2020. While we may not keep making noise about pre-April 2020, idea is that we must restore status quo ante with regard to the protocols that we have signed with China, be it 1993, 96, 2005, 2012 and 13. There are many other agreements which have been finalized between China and India. They need to be restored. Essentially, I would say the protocol 2005 brought us very close to the technical component of our border disputes having been resolved by our bureaucrats and the specialists, and it was only a political decision which was left to have been taken after 2013. Unfortunately, we all know, we are aware as to what has happened after that. Last but not the least, is that the geopolitical churn. This is a huge, tremendous amount of churn taking place, particularly the US being what it is the declining, or you call it sustainable superpower, the kind of behavioral metrics of one individual, because that is, he may be the president, but he doesn't represent the institutional objectives of US.
Okay.
Mind you, India
absolutely.
And US
I'll come back to you. So let me get in the others as well for their perspective. Vijay Kranti, let me quickly draw you in here now on these round of talks as far as the boundary issue also is concerned, which will be happening during the visit of Wang Yi. What do you believe will be the agenda for that, given the fact that this is also going to be PM Modi's first visit to China after Galwan?
One thing I would say that this situation, suddenly we find a lot of activity between India and China, which was not so normal in past quite a few years. And this, I think, in a way, we should give credit to President Trump. He has, I don't know, right now it looks very bad, but maybe it has come as a blessing in disguise for India, that he is acting like a disruptor. A disruptor, whenever there is a disruption, then there is a big opportunity for probing those possibilities which were earlier not on our radar. So this unfortunate conduct of President Trump has opened a few new windows for India. And you see, it's not only China. Of course, China's, we need peace and tranquility with China for next quite a few years for obvious reasons. We are right now not in a position to handle China the way it has been behaving to many countries in recent years. And we need time. We need to buy time. And I think this kind of the visits of the earlier visits of the the foreign minister, and now the Mr. Yi is coming here, and then our prime minister going there. I think this is it should be welcomed from a longer perspective, because this is minimum we can get out of it is a little bit of more understanding with China, so that our relations don't cross those the threshold as it has happened in Galwan or it happened with Pakistan. So we need time for that. So this current change I see as a welcome, because in many ways, as far as industrial products are concerned, technologies are concerned, the gap between India and China is a bit too much to handle in our given situation. So we need some kind of give and take with China, which helps us in achieving those goals or filling up those voids which are very essential for India to handle. So I look at this visit of Mr. Wang Yi and the next visits which are going to happen of Prime Minister, etc., as something positive and as a positive result of Mr. Trump's aberration. I still believe Mr. Trump is he is not the end of our relations with between India and America. I consider him as an aberration, which can at the best last next 4 more years till he is there. Otherwise, I personally believe the relations between India and America are far beyond a person like Mr. Trump, with all due respect to him. But I think we can survive through Mr. Trump's term. Let us hope God gives him wisdom that he should stop. You know that there is every popular book called "How to Stop Worry," "How to Win Friends and Influence People" by Dale Carnegie. Mr. Trump has become a new edition, kind of how to lose friends and annoy people. He is doing it, and unfortunately, he is doing it with some of the best friends, like
Right.
India. We never wanted it. And I'm sure in a coming few months, things will cool down
Okay.
and wisdom will come back
How
to Mr.
significant,
Trump.
Adit, according to you, is this meeting that Wang Yi is going to be holding in New Delhi with S. Jaishankar, followed by Ajit Doval, followed, of course, by PM Modi tomorrow?
I think it's unprecedented that, you have a foreign minister of a different country coming here and, gets to meet the NSA, the external affairs minister and the prime minister. I mean, the three combination is quite unprecedented.
All
So
in,
there's
all in
definitely
24 hours. All in 24 hours, might
all
add.
within 24 hours. So, there is definitely a sense of messaging which is going to be coming across from the Chinese counterparts, and it's going to be fairly significant. So this is aiming towards some sort of tactical easing to thawing the relations between India and China, which have been in the freezer since the Galwan clashes. And hopefully, the winds of the ocean, which is both India and China, do not get entangled in creating and brewing some sort of tornado, but can sort of push the ship more towards peace and tranquility and more towards trade and strategic cooperation. As the speakers before me, Mr. Kranti, Ambassador Mukherjee, and Major General Sudhakarji have pointed out that America has literally pushed China and India to thaw these relationships. So that should be taken into account that, the American trade policies have compelled many nations to look more closely at their geopolitical relations from a prism of mutual interest rather than, what their previous relations have been. So that is in some shape and form, that works to India's advantage, but we also need to be circumspect about who China is and what they have done previously. I'm not going to go back to 1962, but I'm going to merely look at 2025. The SCO meet in June, for example. How they wanted to sort of omit terrorism from the joint statement completely. The Pahalgam attacks, for example. The construction of the Medong hydropower station on the Sangpo River, which basically impacts the downstream of Sangpo into Brahmaputra. So all of those issues will also have to look at. So India will have to play it circumspectly with China, but it does appear that issue-based approach is the calling of the day, and flexible relations built on mutual interests can go along. So India is not going to be cowered by China's relations with vis-a-vis Pakistan, because we also know that the Chinese are also very circumspect of the Pakistanis causing up to Americans in recent times. There was a recent report in the Pakistani Tribune, which basically said that Pakistan is now frustrated with the laxity that China is demonstrating vis-a-vis the Gwadar development and the CPEC development, whereas the Chinese are basically saying that your policies, your security assurances are very weak. So there are those kind of mutual differences between those two allies, which are supposed to be ironclad. So we should definitely be taking advantage of that and trying to thaw our relationships and moving towards some sort of status quo, as Major General Sudhakarji also pointed out, that the boundary dispute, the LAC dispute is of primary contention, and that needs to be sort of ironed out there.
All right, let me take that back to Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee. Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee, now, of course, the big question is, how are we going to attempt to strike a balance between, of course, issues that do exist, will continue to exist at the boundary, and also improving relations pertaining to trade and other avenues of cooperation?
Well, earlier our policy had been that we should first settle the boundary issue and then move forward on other issues. That was after their aggressive behavior, as Adit pointed out a couple of years ago. Now we've gone back to our earlier policy, which is that we make progress on the boundary issue through holding talks, which have been going on for a while. We solved the easy ones first. We are almost at an agreement on one of the sectors. And in the meantime, we press ahead with other issues, which is something that we had frozen because we thought that with the American dependence on us, with the Quad, or with the insistence of the West that India is a pivotal ally in the whole issue of a rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific, where China was looked at as the villain of the peace, we have now realized that you can't, that with the Americans you can't have it both ways. You can't thrash your major ally in this region in this manner, bully it, humiliate it in this manner, and on the other hand expect us to be at the receiving end of the Chinese wrath. Why should we do that? What for? In fact, I would say that at the rate at which it is going, the Quad summit in September may even get cancelled because I don't see Trump coming to India for Quad. And if we are going to repair and restore relations to what it was 5 years ago, where we had made a huge amount of progress on trade, on people-to-people contact, on tourism. Chinese tourists were coming here, etc., etc. There's a huge number of Indian students studying in China, etc. If it's going to go back to the kind of relations we had before the pandemic, then I think that it is for the United States to reflect as to the amount of damage that they have done, not just to the India-US strategic partnership, but to the whole perception that the United States looks on India as a pivotal ally in the Indo-Pacific, which is what Quad was all about, and where they had then brought in Australia, Japan, and then you had AUKUS where the UK was there. Now you're in a situation where Australia and India don't even have a regular American ambassador since he's become president. There is no American ambassador in India. There is no American ambassador in Australia. And people in India are asking the legitimate question, Uday, that why should we stick out our necks out for the Americans with the Chinese? What help are they going to give us if the Chinese decide to become aggressive once again? We have to look at our own core national interests. And our core national interest doesn't mean that we overnight become China's best friend. But on the other hand, our core national interest means that we learn once again to go back to the old policy of coexisting,
Okay.
where that the dragon and the elephant can dance with safe distance from each other and learn once again to live with each other. I think, Uday, that is the best solution for us as long as Trump remains United States president. Uday.